Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Friday. It is December the 5th. We'll go ahead. We'll start at the top of the board. That is normally how these things work. We'll talk about the now 32nd overall Vancouver Canucks. The good news is that means they're going to win the Stanley Cup in 2019, so looking forward to that. So Garland returns to the lineup for the Canucks tonight against the Utah Mammoth. Lankinen is going to get the start because of course he is. The Vancouver Canucks, of course, dealing with not having Demko in the lineup. He could return on Thursday against the Sabres. Hoglander could return for that game as well, which should help the Canucks in terms of their skill level and their efforts as well. Getting Hoglander back and, of course, getting Demko back, an upgrade in net. No offense to Lankinen, but Demko is clearly above Lankinen in terms of the goaltending depth in the Vancouver organization. So this is a team that's sitting at the bottom of the NHL. And there's all kinds of speculation around what the Canucks might do and when, but so far it's just been that. It's been speculation. There hasn't been a lot that's happened as of yet. Joseph Woll got hurt in the Toronto Maple Leafs victory last night. It's a lower body injury. He's seen as day-to-day, which doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be fine for their next game. It just means he's day-to-day. And, of course, Stolarz has been out for a while. Stolarz' injury is looking a lot like Matthews last year, where Matthews in the beginning, it was, it's not a big deal, and then he was out for a long time. So that's happening with Stolarz, and without Woll, definitely some reason for panic when it comes to the goaltending in Toronto. I do like Hill to be fine as the number 3 option, but if he's the number 1, that is, problematic. So the Board of Governors meeting starts on Monday. So they're expected to meet Monday and Tuesday, I do believe. There is no expectation that there's going to be expansion talk. And that would include, there's not going to be anybody there from the Atlanta bids or the Houston, interested people from Houston in terms of adding an NHL team to the NHL's current 32-team lineup. The thing is, though, this can just kind of come out of nowhere. So at this point, there's no expectation that expansion is going to come up. The expectation is they're going to talk about the implementation of the new CBA, talk about Department of Player Safety, all that fun stuff. Just the usual for the Board of Governors meeting. It's unlikely the December meeting sees any major headlines coming out of it that we're all going to be talking about later next week. Coach Bednar, after last night's game against the Islanders, says that goalie interference is a joke in how it's called. Goalie interference is the one that a lot of people do have an issue with. There is a gray area there. Having watched that game last night and watched that play in particular, Blackwood didn't have it. And if the puck is inside the crease, the players on the other team are allowed to then go to the crease, go to the blue paint, and fight for the puck. So the argument from Blackwood as well as from Bednar is he didn't have a chance to play the puck. He was getting harassed the entire time. He was being interfered with. As far as the league's concerned, the puck was right there. It's in the crease. It's loose. Players are allowed to play that puck and try to get the goal. So the NHL also doesn't like to take goals off the board. And I know for people who've seen the goalie interference call to go the other way, they'll be in the comments about that. But that's where the NHL's at. So the things I always look at is the contact inside the crease. If it's not, that right there means it's probably not going to be called goalie interference. If it's contact in the crease, did the player go there on their own? Were they pushed in by the defending player? If they were pushed in by the defending player, did they have an opportunity to leave that they then didn't take advantage of and thus interfered with the goaltender? Were they trying to get out? The defending player wasn't. There's a lot of things to consider with that. I don't think goalie interference is as controversial now as it was, say, 6-7 years ago. But the difference is that I've been covering this league now for the last 9 years on the daily. So maybe it's just one of those things that I've just gotten used to. And I do think there's consistency in how the National Hockey League calls it. I don't think coaches and players necessarily agree with how that play is called. I don't feel like at this point in time I need to do a goalie interference video. I've done them before. I'd rather not have to do another one because it does feel like there's some consistency in how it's called. I don't feel like it's that controversial at this point, but there are definitely some instances where fan bases and teams aren't necessarily happy about the call and whether or not it's overturned on review. So you guys can let me know your thoughts. I know there's going to be very different opinions when it comes to goalie interference and whether or not it's consistently called. Shane Pinto was injured last night against the New York Rangers. The hope is that he's not going to be out for that long. He will not play tomorrow against the Blues. So that was the update that I was waiting on a little bit was to see how long he'd be out. And it definitely looks like at the very least he misses one game. We'll see if there's any more beyond that. The good news being that Zub is expected to return to the lineup for Ottawa tomorrow. So Zub will be back in the lineup. Eller is expected to miss tomorrow night's game as well. He missed last night's too. So Ottawa dealing with its own share of injuries at this point. Everybody is. There's a lot of injuries around the National Hockey League. It's how it works right now. The Pittsburgh Penguins have put Koppanen on waivers. Probably clears, but he's young enough that maybe a team looks at picking him up. I don't think so. I think he probably clears and ends up down with Wilkes-Barre. But he is on waivers at this point. The Florida Panthers, the latest team to put a player on waivers, unconditional waivers for the purpose of a contract termination. Lundmark has been waived by the Florida Panthers. So once he clears waivers tomorrow, his contract will be terminated by Florida. My guess is he signs to play over in one of the European leagues. And I don't honestly have any problem with players that do that say, no, it's not working out in North America. I'm not getting the chance to play in the NHL. I like to get a chance to play at home. So that's what's going to likely happen with Lundmark. Luostarinen spotted at practice. There's been no update, though, on when he's going to necessarily come back, although he could play this weekend. So no confirmation that I've seen as of yet that he's going to be playing this weekend, but getting Luostarinen back in the lineup for Florida is huge. Luostarinen's a good energy player. He's got skill. He's a third liner who can play top 6 minutes and has early in this season, so getting him back for Florida could be a huge boost for them. And he's got good chemistry with Marchand, too, from their third line run in last year's march to the Stanley Cup. The Edmonton Oilers, McDavid, Draisaitl, combined on their 503rd goal. So their combination, meaning one assists on the other. It is the 5th most in NHL history in terms of two players working together to create goals. We know McDavid and Draisaitl are putting up ridiculous numbers, and they are just supremely talented players, and I feel fortunate to get to watch them every day. So, McDavid and Draisaitl continue to climb that list. We'll see how much further they climb. McDavid, of course, signing that extension means we've got at least a couple more years of McDavid and Draisaitl being together, if not more than that. Artemi Panarin last night for the New York Rangers reached the 900-point mark. And the interesting thing with Panarin is that when he came over to start playing in the NHL, he was older than a lot of other prospects are when they start playing in the NHL. Panarin, I think if he had started playing in the NHL at age 19 or 20, we could be looking at an 1,100, 1,200-point player. Artemi Panarin, my expectation is that he's going to be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. It would probably help if he went on a long run in the playoffs at some point, though. So maybe if the Rangers turn this around, they go on a nice long run, he can solidify his spot as a Hall of Famer. Keep in mind, he is a pending unrestricted free agent this summer, so a lot on the line for him, and he's been playing really well over the last month. He's been the Rangers' most productive player. Mikael Granlund returns tonight for the Anaheim Ducks. They're playing against the Capitals, so they're going to need all the help they can get, especially coming off that spanking that they took against the Mammoth in their last game of 7-0. So be interested to watch that one. Jeff Skinner returns tonight for the San Jose Sharks. They're playing against Dallas, so they need all hands on deck for that as well. Skinner's been in and out of the lineup for San Jose, has not had the kind of bounce-back season for the Sharks that I think he was hoping for when he went there. So we'll see how he does tonight in his return to the lineup against a Dallas team that's pretty good at keeping the puck out of their net. Jacob Slavin spotted in a regular jersey at practice, so that's really good news for Carolina, a team that has been dealing with a lot of injuries on their blue line. If Slavin's good to come back this weekend, that could give them a nice boost defensively, especially after last night's game against Toronto not going the way that they wanted it to. Carolina's not in any kind of trouble per se, but they might want to turn this around before it gets uglier, and getting Slavin back would definitely help with that. Jonathan Drouin, dealing with a lower body injury. He is day-to-day, but he is traveling with the team. So that tells you he's likely to play during this road trip, and it's not necessarily a big injury. One example would be Pastrnak hasn't been traveling with the Bruins when they've been traveling, so tells you while they still list Pastrnak as day-to-day, it's not really day-to-day, especially once you're getting up to a week. That's more of a weekly injury than a day-to-day injury, but that's how the NHL reports on him now. Victor Hedman is listed as a probable return to the lineup for Tampa tomorrow against the New York Islanders. Braden Point is seen as more questionable, so probably doesn't play. If there's any chance that Point can play, he will. So keep an eye on that one, but it does look like Hedman's going to return, which could drop down the points that Radish has been putting up lately. Radish has been putting up really strong numbers on the blue line, but getting Hedman back, you have to think he's going to be getting those opportunities. At the very least, it would split those opportunities for Radish, so while Radish's numbers have been really strong over the last month, it's probably going to take a hit with Hedman coming back. Boone Jenner's not accompanying the Columbus Blue Jackets on their 3-game road trip, which means that all of the reports that he's getting close, he's really, really close. He's not that close. If he's not going on the 3-game road trip, it doesn't appear that he's that close, unless he joins them later in the road trip. But at this point, it doesn't look like he's going to be joining them on their 3-game road trip. So yesterday, there was a lot of discussion about the Ryan Kesler case. This is a case that's been brought by a now 17-year-old teenager who is accusing Ryan Kesler of some pretty not just awful stuff. I'm kind of surprised it's just a misdemeanor. I'm honestly kind of surprised it's just a misdemeanor. I did read through it. I do have a subscription to The Athletic. I'm not going to go into the details here because I don't want to get demonetized, but it's not a great story that's being told here. Ryan Kesler is always one of those ones that's tricky because if you go back to when the channel started out, I was very vocal about my dislike for Ryan Kesler. That has never changed. When there was this movement last year amongst Canuck fans to let bygones be bygones and everything's great, I never once stood in front of this camera and said, "Yep, let's do that." I've never been a fan of him. I know he was one of the best two-way forwards in the game at his peak, but I've never been a Ryan Kesler fan. And so probably not the most objective person when it comes to Kesler. And I can't get into the stuff that made me dislike him because, again, don't want to necessarily get demonetized or anything. But there was a lot of talk about Kesler when he was a Vancouver Canuck towards the end of his time in Vancouver. And, yeah, I definitely made it so that I'm not a Kesler fan. I've never done a video on his career. Probably never going to do a video on his career. And we'll see what the outcome is for the trial. My guess is because it's a he said, she said situation, it's really, really tough to actually get any kind of conviction out of it. So that's really where that's at. It is kind of he said, she said at this point from what I've seen, from what was said. And so we'll see what happens at trial if there's any other information that comes out in that testimony. But there you go. That is going to trial. I tried to see if there was any kind of date that's been set. I haven't seen any kind of date that's been set for that. But, all the best to the people involved. And hopefully, whether it's guilt or not guilt, hopefully we all see it come to the right conclusion, whatever that may be. So thank you guys so much for watching. I would also say in addition that this is just another example of why I don't hero worship when it comes to professional athletes. I never have. I know that there's always going to be people with character issues. We see that in the National Hockey League now. We've seen that in the Hockey League in the past as well. It is one of those things about professional sports. We talk about the gifted athletes that get to the top and everything. It doesn't necessarily mean they're great people. It can. Sometimes you get NHLers that are the best guys who are also really, really great people. Sometimes they're really, really not. But they're really talented. They're really good at their job. They're just not necessarily great people. So anyways, I'm done for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.